Forget about Christmas. Halloween is by far my favorite holiday. My favorite time of the year when I get to decorate my house with all kinds of Halloween decorations like animatronic spiders that dangle over my front door and giant blow-up black cats that hiss at guests that walk by. Every Halloween, my house is the main attraction on my street, and I had to spend $500 a year on Halloween candy, and even then I still run out. I've even been on the news before, which was an amazing achievement for me. Every year, I always go to my local Halloween store the day that it opens. I always buy most of my new Halloween decorations that day, so I can get all the good ones before they sell out. This year, I saw one of the coolest Halloween decorations I have ever seen. And it was love at first sight. It was a Grim Reaper animatronic with realistic movement, red light-up eyes, and fog that came out of its mouth. It was awesome looking, and for only $400, it was a steal. They only had one in stock, so I was extremely happy that I got it before anyone else could. I immediately bought it, put it in the back of my van, and drove home. There were so many places that I could put my new prop. The possibilities were endless. I put my new prop in my basement, and then drove out to a restaurant for dinner with my family. Another thing I should mention is I've always been fascinated by ancient poetry. I search for these types of poems for hours a day online, and since they are very hard to find, I only find about one or two a day. Today, I probably found the most awesome one yet. Supposedly, you're supposed to read this poem out loud in front of a human-like object, and that object will become possessed by an evil ancient spirit. On my way home from dinner, I was dying to do this. I went into my basement and read the poem out loud in front of my new Grim Reaper prop. After I read it, nothing happened. Feeling like a complete idiot, I went back to bed. In all honesty, I really did not know what I was expecting. During the night, I heard a noise that scared the living hell out of me. My new Grim Reaper prop accidentally went off in the middle of the night, and it was so loud that I almost had a heart attack. I quickly ran downstairs and unplugged it before returning to bed. 20 minutes after this happened, it went off again, louder than ever. This really scared me. I quietly went downstairs and noticed it was plugged in again. I wasn't sure if I really did unplug it, or if I only dreamed of unplugging it. Confused, I unplugged it and went back to bed. 5 minutes later, and there it was, the Grim Reaper prop, right next to my bed. This terrified me at first, but then I remembered the ancient poem I read. It must have worked. I stared at it for the next 20 minutes hoping something cool would happen, but nothing did. I figured this must be sort of like a weeping angel that only moves when you're not looking at it. I rolled over in my bed, shut my eyes, and waited 30 minutes for something to happen. 30 minutes later, I rolled over and opened my eyes to see if anything happened. And of course, I got my wish. The Grim Reaper prop was closer to me, and dangling from its bony fingers was my cat, which was a bloody mess. This was the most disturbing thing I've ever witnessed in my life. Horrified at what I've done, I decided I needed to destroy it. I brought the Grim Reaper in my van along with lighter fluid and a match. I drove far away from my house to a nice, wide open field. I threw the Grim Reaper out of my van, drenched it in lighter fluid, and set it on fire. I watched it burn for a while before getting back in my van and going home. Reading that poem was a horrible mistake, and I promised myself I would never do anything like that again. For the next 2 nights, everything was peaceful again. For the most part, at least. I was really sad about what happened to my cat, but I can never tell anyone about this. After all, who would believe that I possessed a Halloween prop and it came to life and killed my cat? Not anybody sane, at least. However, 2 nights after I burned the Grim Reaper prop, I read an interesting news story online. They released to the public that 2 days ago, they finally found a serial killer that escaped from prison 4 months ago. There were pictures of the police going into the house he has been hiding inside and arresting him. Apparently, the neighbor saw him through their window and immediately called the cops, and the cops finally found him and put him back into prison. It's funny how things work out sometimes.